Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 106 of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. Coming up on today's show, we will have the one and only Josh Williams is set to join us. You better believe we're going to be talking about Atlanta. Also, we'll look back at his racing career of where he's at and where he's headed from this point. Also, we'll go over the top headlines going on in the sport with our news and notes segment. And we'll have our Ask David segment coming up at the end of the show where we'll answer questions for David and Josh as well that you guys have submitted to us. As always, David Starr joins us. David and I are fresh off a weekend at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, where it was Tyler Reddick who dominated on Sunday and found his way to victory lane. David, you and I saw the action firsthand. I watched almost the entire race with you. And I'll say this, guys, for people at home, credit to David here. I think almost immediately, a few laps in, David says to me, Tyler, that 45 car is the car to beat. And he was exactly right. He was spot on. And David, I got to say, the 45, yes, it was the car to beat. You were right about that. But it was still entertaining. I loved that, whether it was the 24 car or some of these other cars, they put their best foot forward. They put a challenge together for Tyler Reddick, still made for an entertaining race. He didn't run away with the thing, still went to 3 overtimes, and yet the best car still found a way to win. I thought it was the best of both worlds on Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Tyler. It was Tyler Reddick did have the looked like the car to beat, but man, he had a bunch of challengers throughout the whole race, and it was very entertaining. And man, AJ Allmendinger, Josh, shit. I mean, hell, I don't know. There were so many of them that had a shot at it, and led races the way the race played out. But man, what an incredible race! And then when it came down to the end, the 3 green white checkers they had overtime, and everybody was on a different strategy, and it was just how it all played out. It played into a great race towards the end of the race, But we saw during the race that Tyler Reddick really had the dominant car, but with everybody's strategy, it just kind of worked out to everybody was on the same page there at the end of the race. But man, the ending was sure entertaining, and the car that we saw really dominate the race really was there at the end.
Yeah, Dominic Oregon from the RacingExperts.com joins us as well. Dom, you got to watch from home. Tell us your perspective of how this race played out. 3rd year at Circuit of the Americas, and I got to tell you, I thought this track put on quite the show.
One of the few tracks I've never been to, Tyler. I got to change that next year. We're making that happen because that race on TV was awesome. I imagine it was even more just fun to be around that environment and that experience at COTA this weekend. When that caution flew with 11 laps to go, like they were saying in the booth, cautions breed cautions, and we knew that Brad Keselowski.
It changed everything. A whole different race.
4 out of the 6 races this year have featured an overtime finish, and I knew right away, 11 laps to go, there's no way they're going to have this as the final quickie yellow, as they call them. We had more crashes. I think it took an hour and 1 minute from the time the Keselowski caution happened to the time the checkered flag flew. Those overtimes just added so much time. But you know what? They made the finish exciting. I know not everybody's going to agree with that, but I think Tyler Reddick said it best, Tyler, that the fans have spent their hard-earned money. They want to come out and see a good finish, and this gives them that opportunity. NASCAR overtime should not be changed. Those were Tyler Reddick's words.
Yeah. David, one more note before we bring in Josh here. We mentioned you and I were out there and saw them put on a heck of a show, but we talked about last week that track it's not a NASCAR track. That is the home of F1 in the United States. But credit to SMI and company for everything they do to put on the show and make that event possible there. I mean, I got to tell you, David, I felt right at home. I mean, that track does such a phenomenal job. The racing, it's a challenge for these drivers, but they make it entertaining and worthwhile here. I hope we're coming back to COTA for many more years to come.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tyler. And I can't see us, NASCAR not coming back. I mean, the crowd, the enthusiasm, the racing's just been incredible. The Xfinity race and plus the Cup race Sunday. I would be surprised if they didn't keep it on the schedules for years to come. Like you said, it's it's a F1, it's a home of F1 here in the United States. But man, the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, our NASCAR race cars put on a hell of a race there, and I think it's here to stay for a long time.
Dom, you got to see more of the broadcast than the rest of us did. Like Chase Elliott does the remote broadcast. You got Kurt Busch there. I mean, Gunther was also involved. I mean, tell us about watching from home of that whole experience of seeing everything on TV. I mean, Fox kind of went all out for this thing, treating it like it was one of the biggest races of the year with all parties that were involved there. It felt like a big-time event.
Well, and I thought 5 in the booth was going to be too much of a crowd, but it was a good blend, Tyler, because how often do you have current drivers in the booth? And we have a past champion and a Circuit of the America winner, past winner, I should say, and Chase Elliott giving his insight during the booth. And I thought he did a great job, Tyler, in reaching out on social media before the race and asking fans, what do you not want me to say? What give me some ideas on what you want to hear, and just kind of catering to what the fans want to hear. Because at the end of the day, the fans are what make this sport a sport to watch and follow. And I thought that was a nice touch. And when Tyler Reddick was leading on that final lap and Kurt Busch getting emotional, talking about Billy Scott and the 45 team, they always say it's hard for a driver to see somebody else in their own vehicle. And we know that he ran that car last year and won at Kansas, won in that program, but he knew it was in good hands. And he talked a lot about that, but he got emotional from the booth. And I don't know if that was talked about in the media center, but it was certainly felt on that broadcast on Sunday.
Yeah, I thought Gunther was entertaining too. Yes. I thought it was a good mix, and hopefully he's back sometime in the future. Josh Williams joins us now here on Let's Go Racing, making his debut on the show. Dominic, give us the background and formally introduce Josh and the backstory of what led to bringing Josh on this week.
Sure. So Josh is somebody that's actually been on our radar the last few months on getting him here on the show. And Atlanta kind of sped that up a little bit. But Josh's history in the Xfinity Series goes beyond what happened last weekend. He's been running in the series for multiple years with DGM Racing, has posted many top 10 finishes, is running the ARCA Series, runs a late model program, and gives upstart drivers chances to prove themselves. So look forward to hearing what we have to hear from Josh this weekend on Let's Go Racing. But when I reached out to him last week about coming on the show, he said, yeah, let's do it. And I told Josh, too, I said, look, I know we're not the Dale Jr. Download. We're not the Detrimental podcast, but David, Tyler, and I would be honored to have you. And Josh, we're so thankful you're here with us this week on Let's Go Racing.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I mean, you guys are racers too, so I mean, it's cool to get on here and talk a little bit about it. So I appreciate you guys for inviting me.
So I have to ask you, man, since everything happened with Atlanta, and of course you've had a lot of sponsorship and sponsorship opportunities, and your sponsors coming forward and backing you, but even more so with just media inquiries and people wanting to reach out and get a hold of you. How's it been navigating all that the last week and a half?
It's crazy, man. My phone's usually dead by lunch, so it's wild, man. It's always something new, something different. But it's been fun, man. We've had a good time with it and done some really cool things here lately. So I guess it could have went one way or the other. So I'm glad it went the right way instead of the wrong way. So I think it worked out good for everybody.
So Josh, let's not beat around the bush here. Let's start with your perspective. What happened at Atlanta there? Just tell us everything from your end.
Yeah, well, we got in a little incident there with the 27 and the 02. Had some damage come down pit road, tried to fix it. Super cold. It wasn't too cold, but it was cold enough that we had issue with bare bond sticking. So, we're heating the stuff up with torches, and David's been there before, I'm sure. And it's like stuff's hard to stick. So we roll off pit road, and a piece flies off, and we take the green, and the caution, shortly comes out right after that. I don't even think we made a lap, and we come back around the backstretch, and NASCAR was like, they told us to park it. And my spotter, Reed Sorensen, he relayed it to me. He's like, hey, man, he said, NASCAR says we got to park it. And I was shocked. I was like, for what? Like, I had no idea. And he said, extending the caution. And I thought it was like, I thought that there was no way. So I just slowly kept rolling around the racetrack waiting for him to make a decision. And Reed was talking to the officials up on top of the tower. And my crew chief, Brian Berry, was talking to the official at the pit box, and nobody was kind of communicating with me. So at that time, I was stopped on the front stretch waiting on an answer. And Reed come back over. He said, yeah, man, they want us to park it. I was already parked. So I got out right there. And I didn't really know that it was going to escalate to this level, but it did pretty quick.
Wow. And with everything that has gone on since then, how do you feel about it all? No regrets, I imagine?
No, I mean, I wanted to voice my opinion, and I think I did. And NASCAR, they issued me the suspension. So, I mean, they definitely showed, their side of things, and I'm not mad at them at all for doing it. I mean, they got to show some type of punishment for the action, or everybody's going to think it's okay to just do something like that all the time.
So also NASCAR had you sitting there in the hauler until after the race, kind of like you were in timeout. Did you feel like you were in timeout, or like what were those moments like in the hauler and those hours waiting for that meeting to start?
Oh yeah, no, I was definitely the kid that was in trouble for sure. So, I mean, I think there was like 140 laps to go or something like that, and man, it felt like forever. I was laying down on the couch watching the race. They offered me some food and drinks when I walked in the door, and I was like, man, I don't want anything y'all got, not even a little bit. And a couple hours later, I was like, that pizza don't sound so bad. So, yeah, it was a long wait, very long wait.
Josh, I love what you did in respect. I mean, you disagreed with NASCAR respectfully, I thought. And, man, getting out of your race car. I mean, what people don't understand is, man, you're a great race car driver. First of all, you work your tail off to be able to compete week in and week out for an underfunded team. You're thankful that you have great sponsors that support you. And man, you want to run the race. You want to complete the race. Even if you're involved in a little altercation, a little bit of wreck on the racetrack, it wasn't bad, bad enough where y'all had to work on it, but you want to finish the race. And while others will fall out, or maybe others will wreck or have mechanical problems, you're gaining points, and for them to not allow you to finish the race for an underfunded team, I think that's, it's frustrating, because, I mean, just because your Barabon didn't stick and, something fell off doesn't mean that you can't keep the car up to minimum speed. And for an underfunded team to not be able to finish a race with a car that was capable of finishing the race, it's so frustrating. And I love how you disagreed. I think it was respectfully. Obviously, there's consequences when we do things like that. But, I think you got your point across to NASCAR, that there's a lot of underfunded teams. Not everybody out there competing on Saturday afternoons have millions and millions of dollar budget to work on. And it's important that we finish these races and gather all the points we can get and finish the best we can do under the circumstances. And I don't think people realize that. And I love it because you really brought it to the forefront, not only for yourself and your team, for others that are fighting their tail off to compete at that level and to stay competing at that level. It's a challenge for a lot of underfunded team. And I love that you spoke up for not only for yourself and y'all and your organization that you race for and your sponsors, but you spoke up for a lot of others that haven't really been able to express themselves that way. And I thought you brought it to the forefront, and I think you did it somewhat respectfully and got their attention, and I appreciate it. I think it was awesome.
Yeah, it's funny, man. A lot of different drivers have reached out, since it's happened, and it's kind of cool to see. Like, I mean, they kind of say the same thing you do. They're like, that was cool, because I feel like a lot of people want to voice their opinion or show something, of their displeasure with NASCAR, but I don't know if they're scared or they just think that it won't matter. I don't know what side of that they're on, but I mean, I'm a racer, man. That's all I've done my entire life. I've never done anything else. So it's kind of to be kicked out of the race with a Atlanta-based sponsor on our car. They've got a ton of people there, and to be parked for a piece of tape. I really wasn't happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then and it's really cool that other racers come to your defense. And one of them I mentioned, I read something. I didn't have a chance. I was going to talk to Denny this weekend, but I didn't have a chance to. I was busy, but I thought it was pretty cool that he came to your defense and said, if they find him, then I got it covered, and yeah. to show you, Denny's no different from yourself or me, or, we're all racers, and we're just trying to do the best we can and race. And sometimes, I mean, I don't even care if you're racing at a short track somewhere across the country. I mean, sometimes, these calls that these sanctioning bodies make, their officials, it's like, man, it's a challenge to really accept the calls when they're wrong, and it's great to be able to navigate through that in a positive way. And I think you done it in a positive way. Sometimes we don't always win the argument, but at least you got your point across, and you got it across for a lot of other people as well. And for the other racers and teams that don't like to really, I don't know what you call it, really don't like to, I don't know, really, that are, I don't know if it's the word scared, but don't want to rock the boat. I thought that was pretty cool how you handled it. And, and like you said, it could have gone any way, and it really went into a positive way for a lot of different reasons. So I just think it was awesome. It was pretty cool, man. And I didn't see it on television. I wasn't watching because I wasn't in the race, but man, I heard all about it. And even the commentators thought it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely tell they had mixed feelings on what they were fixing to say next.
Right.
Especially with Joey in the booth, and then Suarez there. They had to put on the business hat there for a second and kind of watch what they said. But yeah, it was cool, man. It was, and Denny reaching out. A lot of people were like, "Oh man, he's not going to pay his fine. He's just saying that for Twitter." I mean, he actually he talked to me Sunday morning for the Cup race, and he was 100% serious about it. He was committed to it, and he was willing to help us out any way we can. So that was pretty cool of him to reach out and kind of help the little guy.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Kudos to Denny for that. Ultimately, you didn't get fined, so I'm glad that didn't happen to you. But with that said, Josh, you mentioned your message getting across. David talked about it too. It was heard loud and clear. Do you think what you did, if someone else was in that situation in the future, do you think that could inspire change, a different outcome? Now that this has gone on, do you see yourself potentially being like the sacrificial lamb of some sorts for this type of deal going forward?
No, I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out here in the future. But it's one of those deals. I mean, it's their sandbox and we just play in it. So I'm sure once we get back to racetrack here and we get to Richmond, we'll see how it goes. I'm sure inspection isn't going to be the easiest thing for me. So we'll see how that goes.
Hey, Josh, man, we appreciate you coming on the air with us. Man, a lot of our fans, a lot of your fans that are listening to us, man, take us back to you were just saying that, man, that's all you ever done. You've raced your whole life, and take us back to the start, man. Take us back to how it all started. Was it your dad racing or an uncle? Just take us back, just take us back to the start and tell us kind of your story.
Yeah, my dad raced for a long time. He raced in Indiana before he moved to Florida, and he run all kinds of cars in Florida, anything from street stocks to open wheel modifieds and super late models, sportsman cars, stuff like that. And I was always at the racetrack. I was at the racetrack. I wasn't even born yet. So I got pictures in Victory Lane. I was still inside my mom's belly. So it's just something that I always enjoyed, and started racing go-karts when I was 4 on road courses in South Florida. And then did the quarter midget deal, Bandoleros, Legends cars, did some pro truck stuff in South Florida. And we kind of got to a point where I was turning 15, and we either were going to go super late model racing in Florida, or we were going to do some ARCA racing. And at that point in time, every summer I'd go to North Carolina. That's what I did. Race Legends cars or whatever it was. This is kind of the place to be. Ken Reagan helped me out a lot, David Reagan's dad, on making decisions and things like that. And I actually lived with Ken and Beverly for a while.
Wow.
They introduced me to Barry Owen. I don't know if you know Barry or not, David, but
hell of a car builder.
Man, he could take a plastic spoon and make a race car out of it.
He was amazing, dude. Wow. I had no idea that you were that close with Barry Owens. And
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So we talked about it a little bit, and we decided to go the ARCA route instead of doing the late models, because at that point in time, ARCA, you could get a used SB2 motor, or a used Ford motor, or whatever for pretty reasonable price. And you could buy a used, Xfinity car for $5 grand, $6 grand. You just had to put some brakes on it and your motor and transmission and seat. So that's what we went and did. And I worked with Barry, and we actually built our own car. Right when I turned 15, we built one from the ground up, Barry's way. No service plate, no frame jig, no nothing. So we old school, and that same car we built when I was 15, we won both of our ARCA races with in 2016, and had one of our strongest years. And so that was kind of a cool deal for me. And once we got to that point, like, that was it. After 2016, like, we were done. There was no more, like, we couldn't do it anymore. You know what I mean? We spent everything we had, and we've refinanced homes and all kinds of stuff. And it just, it got to the point to where I was either going to, go work for a team or try to make something happen. And I was at Circle Track Warehouse one day, and Jimmy Means was in there, and he was talking to Brian about, he's like, man, I got another car I'm taking to Michigan, and I need to do a starting park, and I don't have a driver. And Brian says, well, there's your driver right there. So I talked to Jimmy a little bit, got his number, and I was like, man, I don't want to do a starting park, right? Like, I'm not a starting park guy. Then so I was like, that's not even cool. And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, this is probably a good idea, because I'm not driving anyways. So went and did starting park with Jimmy at Michigan, and we qualified in the show and ran a couple laps there, did my job, and came back home and started working on some other stuff at my shop, just late models and Legends cars and whatnot. And Mario Goslin called me. He said, man, you still got your license? I said, yeah, I got my license. He said, I need you to do a starting park. I said, 10-4, sign me up. So I started doing that on a regular basis. And finally we got some partners together and got some sponsor dollars. And then we ran a race, and, I did limited schedule there, I think, till 2019. I think that was my full year, or at least partial year. I almost ran all the races, but just kept building partners, man. I mean, you know how this deal works. It's all revolved around sponsors and brands. And we started those relationships and making friends and putting more stickers on the car. And, here we are full time, and, making a good effort at it and having some good runs.
Man, that's amazing. What a journey, man. What a story. And man, Mario, you and Mario Goslin, y'all, I think a lot of people know, man, y'all really, I think Dale Jr. really, I know Dale Jr. really notices it because he speaks about it. But you guys, one of the smaller teams out there, you guys have really done the most and had some lot of great runs and great finishes, And when you do that, big names like Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., they take notice of that, you know what I mean? Because again, you're not, y'all's organization, it ain't like you have millions and millions and millions of dollars to race on, I mean, you have great relationships, great partners, and man, you guys really can do a lot of branding and marketing for a company at the level that we race at. And y'all have done that, and y'all have done it well. But again, you still you're not a powerhouse team, but sometimes you finish like you're a powerhouse team, and it takes notice in the sport, and it's good that people are paying attention and that can see a smaller underfunded team run good and take notice of that. So it's y'all have done a hell of a job. It's pretty cool to see and watch.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, we were at Bristol one time, and it was like 5 to go, and I passed Riley Herbst on the outside at Bristol in a car from 2011 or 2012 as a Turner car. And Riley's crew chief, come up to me after the race, and he said, man, I don't know what to tell you. He said, there ain't no way you should have drove by us like we was on jack stands. And I said, I don't want to rub it in or nothing. I said, but that's like a 2012 Turner car. And he said, he just hung his head and walked away. But I mean, we try hard, we put a lot of work in and put a lot of effort into running good. I mean, you have to. You don't have a choice. I mean, you got to work your tail off because you don't have all the resources sitting there in front of you. I mean, sometimes you just got to make them.
Yeah, that's a pretty good compliment, Riley Herbst, crew chief, when he walks off shaking his head, because you're speaking about really a powerhouse team that all the resources that anybody could ever dream of having. And then you take a car that's a 2011, 12, Turner car and pass somebody on the outside. I mean, it's just those are just few and far, and that don't happen every day. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. It says a lot about your ability and Mario guys and what y'all have done. So man, it's pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, it's a blast, man. I like running for the the small guy, because when you get to beat the big guy, it makes it that much better.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. That's great. So, Josh, tell us of what you've done, what you've accomplished throughout your racing career. What stands out to you? What are you most proud of? I imagine just getting to the point when you were able to compete, move on from the starting park stuff, was a pretty big deal in itself.
Yeah, that was pretty cool for me, man. And I'd probably say the coolest thing I ever done is when we won those ARCA races. That's a family-owned team. It was me and a bunch of other kids. We'd show up at a racetrack in a dually and a 28-foot trailer and park in between the semis, and we'd outrun them, man. So I mean, I feel like that was pretty the coolest thing ever. And we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there on the Xfinity side. We're gonna put on a show here hopefully soon.
Yeah, it is pretty cool because we're not racing trailers. You know what I mean? I think people sometimes get lost in all these big haulers. I mean, we got to have them in most of the teams that we race for these days. I mean, that's just the standard way of getting to the racetrack. But it's cool to hear a story like that. You know what I mean? I I have a couple of myself, but man, it ain't like we're racing haulers. You know what I mean? It's when you open up that trailer and what you roll out of it, that's what we're talking about right there. And that's pretty cool to have. How many ARCA races did you win, Josh?
We won 2 in 16.
Man,
I've finished in the top 5 numerous times. A lot of times it was due to either lack of tire or lack of pit crew.
No, I hear you, man. And most people you probably led a race and come in and make a pit stop during an ARCA race, and then you leading the race probably went back out 13 or 14. It's hard to make that up. You know what I mean? But you have the car, have the ability, and can running good. And then next thing you know, you just don't have the funding to have a professional pit crew. So you just put together the best you can, and that's what you got,
Oh yeah. We used to do pit stop practice in front of the shop. We went to Elko, Minnesota one time. Super far away, right? Everybody knows it's far away from North Carolina.
Right.
And we were racing for points at the time, and we really didn't have the money to go. And we're like, all right, well, we'll go up there. We'll buy 2 sets of tires, and we'll just find people to crew the car. And we literally come down pit road running in the top 5 and went a lap down on pit road. So I drove back past the field and made my lap up under green, caution come out, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna pit again. I think we ended up finishing 5th or 6th or something like that. We went to Tech, but it was a pretty cool story though, man. It's like, we lost a lap on pit road because it was just a bunch of buddies just having a good time. And I found this one guy in the garage. I said, hey, you ever jacked a race car up before? And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, on a pit stop. He said, no. I said, but you jacked one up? And he said, yeah. I said, perfect. You're my guy. So he was my jack man.
You just had to know how to operate a jack, man.
That's all I was looking for. Wayne Peterson, he did a starting park. He actually got out of his car and fueled my car for that race. So, I mean, it was a mess, but it was fun. It's something you can look back on and be like, man, we probably could have won that race if we'd have done it the right way.
So Josh, hearing there's all these cool stories, not all of us are born with a silver spoon in our mouth, you know what I mean? And for the ones that have, good for them. We all have our stories, and for the ones that don't have great stories like the one you just shared, I feel bad for them, because man, you could write a book on the memories and the great times and times like, man, well, you don't even have a jack man of the races. You're an hour and a half from a race start. You don't even have a pit crew together, and going to somebody, hey, you ever jacked a race car before? Yeah, but not during competition. But I just feel like some of the times when some of these kids, they're, and good for them. They have good funding, and they never really get to experience the kinds of memories and stories that most of us have been through, you know what I mean? Just because we really didn't have the funding to do it how it needs to be done. But the racer in us, we want to go and try to win, and we'll do anything we can. And by that, anything being what the stories you just told us, you know what I mean? And I think that's awesome, and some of the new kids now that we've raced with and that aren't even made it to NASCAR that I know, they're like, when they hear some of your stories, they don't believe you, because they can't comprehend that because they say, man, if I had to do that, there's no way, but anyway, it's all good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it's about, man. I mean, that's kind of what racing was born off of, right? So I don't know. Hopefully we can kind of keep that going here and keep the stories going for the future.
So when you were talking about those proud moments Tyler was asking about a minute ago, I think one thing too that comes to mind, at least last year, you got to make not one or two, but 3 Cup Series starts in that first one at Bristol on the dirt last year. Just tell us about that and getting that opportunity, and was it everything you had hoped and dreamt for in making your Cup Series debut?
And yeah, I mean, that was pretty cool, and we were talking about it, and it was kind of something that we planned on doing, at the end of the year before, and they were like, well, where do you want your first one to be? And I was like, Bristol Dirt. And they're like, why in the world would you choose Bristol Dirt? I said, I've never been in a Cup car, especially the new Cup car. I said, and nobody else has been on dirt in the new Cup car. I was like, this is the best case scenario. And I mean, I've run a ton of ARCA races on dirt, ran really well. And I felt like that was the best place to kind of showcase my ability, instead of being at somewhere else where we were going to really lack in the equipment part. So that it just kind of balanced the field out a little bit. And we ended up finishing, I think, 25th. So, I mean, I thought that was pretty cool.
That's amazing for your first Cup race, man, 25th. I know people have been racing in the Cup Series for many years and never even finished in the top 25. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was wild. I was like, I rolled by Kevin Harvick, and I was like, wow, this is real. I Rodney afterwards, and he was like, yeah, Kevin wasn't happy. But it was cool though, man. It's like, I passed Harvick, I passed Hamlin. I mean, and I was running against, the best drivers, NASCAR drivers, and you know what I mean? So it's just fun. It's cool. And that's why I picked that race as my first race. I felt like that was the best opportunity I had to run good.
So let me ask you this, Josh, before we move on to the news of the day and everything. Just this past week, what did you do with your week off, and what was the support like? Your social media following, I'm sure, probably took a big jump and had a lot of people reaching out and everything. What were the last few days like on that front of the support you received?
Yeah, man, it was cool. I mean, there's people still reaching out and having a good time with it, but no, I just kind of enjoyed the weekend. Sent the boys to Hickory Motor Speedway. We ran a late model stock this weekend, twin 40s, with one of our drivers, and I went to a birthday party and hung out with some family a little bit, and that was about it. Kind of enjoyed my weekend.
Nice. That's great. Well, glad that things worked out as well as it could have, it seemed, under the circumstances for you. And you're going to be, again, back on track this weekend. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, we'll be back at Richmond, baby. It ought to be pretty good.
Awesome. Love to see it. News and notes coming up next. Also got Ask David coming up in just a moment. Dominic Olagon standing by with the latest headlines from around the sport. Dominic, go ahead and get us up to speed. What's going on?
Well, let's wrap everything up with COTA and just taking a look at, like we do every week, with the NASCAR ratings. Adam Stern with the Sports Business Journal releasing the ratings on Tuesday, that the ratings for the COTA race, for the Cup Series race on Sunday, were down compared to 2022. So overnight ratings, Fox earned a 1.81 rating, which is about 3.12 million viewers. But the race before was 3.7 million viewers in 2022. So we're looking at about, what is that, a 10% drop? Just doing some quick math. But Tyler, I think too, that doesn't paint the full picture, because we had NCAA games going on as well.
Yeah, you also had the Dell match play going on in golf. It was a busy sports weekend. going on, but still 3 million viewers. I don't think you're going to complain about any race weekend you can get 3 million people watching, David. I mean, you get over 3, I think the sponsors, the networks are still happy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I didn't see the TV coverage, but obviously we were there, and man, just the people, the fans, the racing was unbelievable. I don't know how you could have made that event any better than what it was. And for the fans that didn't watch it on Sunday, I think they missed out on a really exciting race. And I don't really understand how all the ratings work and all that, but the TV coverage is incredible. And Tyler, like you were saying, there was a lot of things. There was a PGA golf tournament going on, and there
in Austin too.
Austin, and it was just a lot of other sporting events. So I don't know if I would read into a 10% drop in the ratings just because so much was going on. It was a beautiful day, but again, for the people that missed it, they really missed an awesome race. And man, there were so many people there. It was a great race weekend for sure.
Josh, I know that you weren't going to get to be out there, but what'd you make of what went down at COTA and everything? Did you watch? What'd you think of the events that occurred?
Oh yeah, I think all the racing was good. I mean, all 3 series put on a good show, and well, that's the thing, right? So it was a super busy weekend. A lot of people were talking about what was going on, and I'm sure after they watch the highlights, next year the ratings will probably be 2 times as high. You know what I mean? They're gonna be like, man, that race was cool. We should have watched that instead. So hopefully that's how it goes. I mean, that's how that stuff works, man. It's got an influx of up and down. So it's I love COTA. I ain't made a lap there yet. Done time. It rained qualifying the first time. I was on old tires. The second time we missed the show. I ain't made a lap yet. I still got to run rookie stripes at COTA when we go back next year.
Well, Jimmy Johnson's only run 1 more lap than you, so
that's it.
That's all. So,
cool Josh, it'd be kind of cool to see you with a rookie stripe on your bumper there next year.
Yeah, we'll have to take some pictures with it or something.
Absolutely.
That's funny. Dominic, what else going on?
Yeah, news out of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Big Machine Racing owner Scott Borchetta is stabilized in stable condition after a Trans Am crash on Sunday. Racing news outlet Toby Christie was the first report that Borchetta crashed in the Trans Am 2 Series race at Road Atlanta, which is a road course in Brazelton, Georgia, for a high-braking turn in the race's 24th lap. Rolling Stone is also reporting that he is in stable condition at the time of this podcast, but other than that, no other updates have been passed along on his condition. Our thoughts and prayers are with Scott Borchetta and his family at this time.
David, Scott Borchetta, a guy that he's one of the newer names in NASCAR. He certainly made some noise in the Xfinity Series, kind of an unconventional guy with his background, how he got involved in motorsports, but with what he's done with Big Machine Racing, Big Machine Vodka's obviously been a big sponsor, as well as Big Machine Records. They've been a big machine in NASCAR. I like Scott Borchetta. Hope he's okay, and hope to see him back at the track soon.
No doubt about it. That's new. I'm just now hearing about this. I didn't realize that, but Scott's a great man, just a great dude, and his love for all forms of auto racing. His passion for it is just big. He's been around NASCAR for years. He's a friend of mine, and it was cool when he finally jumped in all the way and started his own Xfinity team. And, I know he loves road racing, and I knew he did a lot of Trans Am 2 and other types of road racing, but I was unaware that he had an accident. I was unaware of that. So, man, I hope he's okay, and man, I'll pray for him. And man, that's news to me. I'm shocked to hear that. But man, those Trans Am cars, last one I saw, Trans Am 2 cars, like a Howe short track race car that we used to race, and they're built good. I just hopefully he's going to be okay. But I'm shocked to hear that. And but man, what a great guy, and what a great team owner in the Xfinity Series. He's got a great team. Parker Klingerman is his driver this year, and I think looking back on the Atlanta race with what Josh Williams, having Josh create a lot of action there for us, and looking at Scott Borchetta's car, I think Parker Klingerman, I think he finished third or fourth. He came across the start finish line backwards. It was like a Days of Thunder finish for him, but hey, our thoughts and prayers are with Scott, and man, hopefully he's going to pull through whatever injuries he's sustained this weekend. Was unaware of that.
Josh, do you know Scott at all in any history between you two?
No, not between us. I didn't know he raced either. Somebody said something about it once, but I mean that's wild, man. I hope he's all right, and those cars are pretty safe, so hopefully he'll be back up on his feet and rolling here soon.
Yes, hopefully so. We're thinking of you, Scott, and like to see you back out there soon. Hopefully that's the case. Dominic, let's look ahead to Richmond, shall we? I'll say this before we look at the odds and everything. We've talked about David the last couple of weeks. Chevy looked like the dominant team to start the season. Then Ford came alive with Joey Logano's win that he had a couple of weeks ago. And then last week, Toyota finally had their breakthrough race with Tyler Reddick dominating. I know it was a road course race, but still, you dominate. You still get credit for what you do there as a manufacturer. Dom, I don't know what the odds look like off the top of my head, but I would think that maybe we start to see things type of even out a little bit here.
Possibly. I would say the odds are actually favoring that too before we look at practice and qualifying and the race this weekend. Just going over some of the odds. Here's what some of the odds look like for the Toyota Owners 400 this weekend at Richmond Raceway. Your top 5 picks, according to covers.com. Denny Hamlin, plus 900. Christopher Bell, plus 750. Kyle Larson, plus 650. Kevin Harvick, plus 550. And William Byron, plus 450. So we have some past Richmond winners here, some winners this season. There's all top 3 manufacturers supported in that list. And just for some of the ones at the bottom of the list, Ty Gibbs at plus 8,000. Austin Dillon at plus 8,000. Bubba Wallace, Chase Briscoe, Eric Almirola at plus 5,000.
I'll say this much, David. The number one guy on that list, William Byron, I think he's proven so far through these first 5-6 races, anyone that wins this season, you're going to have to beat William Byron. That 24 team has been ready every week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But just sitting here, when you say Richmond and you say NASCAR, I think Josh Williams probably agree with me. You got to think about Denny Hamlin. Just over the years, he has dominated that racetrack. It's just, if it all plays out correctly and Denny doesn't have any mistakes or any mechanical problems or pit stop issues, he's going to be the guy to win the race, and I don't know how many cup wins he has at Richmond, but he's got to be the leader. And then you look at, Kevin Harvick has always run strong there too. And you look at the last 3 or 4 races, Kevin was leading at Phoenix. Caution came out with about 5 laps to go. He had a bad pit stop and lost the race. And I believe Atlanta, if I remember right, he was leading the race and got loose coming off turn 2, wrecked. But you got to think Kevin Harvick's a favor, and it's how competitive the Cup Series is. It's really hard to pick a winner. Then you look at Tyler Reddick after, momentum and what those guys have done this last week, and they've been competitive all year long. But, I don't know about you guys, but me and Josh, we like that momentum. We have a good run. We're going to carry it into the next week, So it's hard to, I hear your odds and everything you're talking about, Dominic, but man, it'd be hard to bet against Denny Hamlin, right now. But man, it's so competitive. You look at Kyle Busch. I mean, Kyle has been on fire, won the California race, finished second this past weekend at COTA. But man, that guy's been strong week in and week out. So, I'm surprised that, Dominic didn't say Kyle Busch, but anyway, it's, I know this is going to be a very competitive. It's going to be a great race, not only the Cup race, but the Xfinity race too. So it's going to be exciting. And if I was a betting man, I'd bet on the side of Denny Hamlin. To be honest with you,
Josh, what do you think about this weekend's action at Richmond here?
Yeah, it's going to be good, man. But I'm sticking with the old Byron machine, man. Those guys got their stuff going on for sure. I'm going to pick myself for the Xfinity race. So But I mean, and even Kyle Busch, I mean, Kyle's been super, super fast, all year this year. And I mean, I feel like Chevrolet's got some stuff figured out here at the beginning of the year. But I mean, you know how the Cup Series is, man. It's always a rotation. I mean, it's always a rotation. You see small groups that are really, really fast, and then they'll fall off, and somebody else will pick it back up. So I don't know. I think 24 is going to be hard to beat, but Kyle Busch is probably going to be tough too.
Yeah. All right. So Josh likes William Byron. David's going with Denny Hamlin officially, not Kevin Harvick this week, right, David?
No, Denny Hamlin. I'll pick this week.
Okay. 2 weeks in a row, Dom, that David didn't pick Kevin Harvick. That might be a record.
That might be a record.
William Byron as well. William Byron looks like he's got the best team on track right now. And got a good thing going. He's a threat every week. I'll go with the 24. How about you, Dom?
I'll just to be different. I think William Byron will be a threat this weekend, but Kyle Larson gets it done. He gets his first win of the year, gets back into playoff contention, not 29th or wherever he's at. Kyle Larson gets it done at Richmond.
One more note. I'd watch out for Team Trackhouse. They're running really good. They haven't gotten victory lane yet, but we saw, Dom, a little bit of conflict between Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez there on pit road after the race.
They looked like they had a heated exchange, and Justin Marks, the team owner from Trackhouse, said he's okay with it. He wants to see guys pissed off that they have lost the race. He was happy to see that they were talking it out of some sorts, but also too, and we'll see what penalties come out of it too. Suarez chased down, I believe it was Alex Bowman on the cool down lap Sunday at COTA and bumped him as they were coming to pit road. We know NASCAR's not happy when something like that happens. Ty Gibbs got penalized in a Cup car for doing that last year, I believe at Texas. So we'll see what comes of the Suarez thing there.
Let me ask you, Josh, what do you think of that situation? Do you think that's as teammates water under the bridge, or is that something that carries over between Ross and Daniel, you think?
I don't know. I mean, teammates or not, I mean, you still got to race each other, right? You know what I mean? It's no different. You're still competing. I see it from an owner's perspective that maybe they might be like, hey, let's not do that. But you know what I mean? They're racers. I mean, let them race each other. I mean, just because they got the same, team name on the side of the car, it don't matter. Let them get after it. If they want to go in the parking lot and fight each other, have at it.
Yeah, it's a great point. Our final segment before we go, it's our Ask David segment. We ask you to submit questions to us on Facebook, Twitter, and by email, davidstarrpodcast@gmail.com, Star Podcast on Twitter and Facebook, and you can submit those questions to us each and every week. Our first question in the
Tyler.
Go ahead, David.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let's step back. Let's go back to Richmond. How about our odds favorite? Who we cheering for at Richmond on the Xfinity side?
Oh, we're rooting on Josh Williams. Yeah,
that's what I thought. I'm going with Josh Williams. What about you, Dominic?
I'm going Josh Williams in that 92 DGM machine.
Oh, yeah.
That's who I'm going for, guys.
Yeah. All right, there we go, man.
I think I might have to put some money down on Josh now.
Yeah. What are my odds? Like 45 million to 1 or something?
So you're saying
you can make me rich, Josh. You get it done, you can make us all rich. So
there is a chance.
There is a.
I love it. As David now here on Let's Go Racing, where you submit questions to us each and every week. And our first question from the inbox is for Josh and David both. Comes from Quinn. Quinn wants to know, you guys have both run Cup races recently. What's the chances you run Cup races in 2023? Let's start with you, Josh.
I don't have anything scheduled at the moment. But I mean, you know how motorsports is. That could change at any time. But we just really wanted to focus on our Xfinity program this year. But you never know. I mean, Bristol says they got a parking spot for me already reserved. So I guess find me a Cup ride.
Yeah. David, how about you? What are the chances we see you in a Cup car?
Man, it's a possibility you might see me in maybe 2 this year, 2 cup races, but working on that. And when it's a little bit more, right now we're just working on it. But I'm hoping to run 2 cup races, and again, kind of like Josh, just focus on getting back. My next Xfinity race is Talladega, and just getting back to racing as many races as I can. So. But it'd be kind of cool to jump in. I don't think I'm going to do the Bristol dirt race like Josh did, but it would be kind of cool to do that, man. That'd be pretty awesome.
It was fun. Have you drove the new Cup car yet?
I haven't, Josh. What's it like, man? Is it pretty awesome?
It's like driving a brick with four wheels on it.
Y'all heard that, guys.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a road course, though.
I'm looking forward to I can't wait. You just hear so much, everybody's opinion about it. It'd be kind of cool to finally get in there and just, feel what the new Cup car is to compare it to, the old Cup car. So it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, they're pretty neat. They're a whole different animal for sure.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I on Sunday, I took a pace car ride around COTA, and just even in the passenger seat in a pace car, I'm like, man, this track is something else. We're going to 100 miles an hour, making all those turns and everything. I'm like, I can't imagine doing how long is COTA race? What is it, 275 miles in a stock car at 200 miles an hour? That just blew my mind, even just one lap in a pace car, Josh.
Shift like 127 times a lap.
I can't imagine that new Cup car, what it does. Next question comes from Sam in the inbox. Sam wants to know, with California off the schedule next year, what would you like to see in its place? We'll start with you, David, this time. What would you like to see to replace California with it gone next year and no race announced yet?
Well, I'd like to see myself personally, like maybe a Memphis Motorsports Park or going back to Iowa, Newton, Iowa, the little racetrack there. I think it's a 5/8 mile track, but I like to see us go somewhat of a short track way. Again, maybe Nashville. I mean, I know we race at the Nashville Super Speedway, but maybe the Nashville Fairgrounds. Finding a short track somewhere to replace it would be. I would definitely would hurt my feelings at all, but it's going to be interesting to see, what they do replace it with. Are they going to replace it with another racetrack somewhere in California? That's a mystery right now, but it's going to be interesting to see what gets added, what track it's going to be.
How about you, Josh?
I say we take the Xfinity cars to Bristol Dirt.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Josh. I don't know why we don't do it. If the trucks can go there and the Cup Series can go there, why did they leave out the Xfinity Series? I would have loved to do that.
I know we're the best series out of all three of them. I don't know why we didn't get to go.
Yeah, that don't make any sense to me,
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. You guys do get to do the Chicago Street Race this year, though. Originally that was going to be IMSA, and Xfinity replaced it instead. So that'll be cool for the Xfinity Series to get that one. Dominic, what would you like to see replace Cali?
Man, I think any kind of short track would be awesome. Or, man, maybe I'm thinking too nostalgic because of the shape of the track. But what if you did some schedule jumping around and you had Michigan take that place? Let's go back to Michigan. Let's make that a doubleheader weekend. And hear me out on this. I think that would be great for the drivers and the teams and everybody, because what we did during the pandemic, where we had that as a doubleheader race weekend out of necessity, that could be done something at least temporarily and either shorten up the actual NASCAR season, where we still have 36 race weekends, but the season's one less week, and you condense it down to 2 races like we did in 2020. That'd be where my vote goes.
Go ahead, Josh.
Who is this guy? Who wants to go to Michigan?
Hey, I've never been. I was willing to go this summer, so I'm guessing probably not then.
It's not bad. It's an amazing facility, and it's a fun racetrack. It's just it's not a low budget team favorite.
No. It's definitely for the bigger, high powerful teams. That's for sure.
Okay, here's my idea, and sorry, this might not be the best idea for the lower budget teams, but I'll throw it out there anyway. The West Coast swing, Dom, I feel like it's been a popular thing. I would think NASCAR would want to keep that in place and want to keep that market. What about going to Long Beach like IndyCar does there, and that be the second race of the year, and you could still keep that West Coast swing thing to keep the start of the season going?
I like that interesting take. Josh, David, how would that work for the teams? Would that be good? You're already making the trip 3 weekends in a row.
Man, I think right now, my personal opinion, I think we got enough road courses on our schedule. I mean, I'm not, I know Chicago, that's going to be kind of exciting. Such a great market. I didn't really know, I didn't see anything wrong with the Chicagoland Speedway. Now we're going to a street course for the first time. I think that's kind of cool and interesting and going to be a lot of fun, but, I'm not real sure our cars are built for street road courses. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I think we have enough road races on our schedule, but hey, I'm not the one to make those decisions. I'm here interested to hear what Josh has to say about this.
Yeah, I mean, the only disadvantage is, so we take 2 cars and 1 trailer, and, one's a short track car and one's an intermediate car. Well, once we get, if we have to run a road course, now we don't have a choice but to drive all the way back home to get a different car to drive all the way back. That would be my only disadvantage, for the smaller guys or even the big teams at that point. It really doesn't matter. At that point, you'd have to either send an extra hauler or have somebody meet halfway or something like that. But I think it'd be cool. I mean, I'm growing on the road course thing because I see the trend and where we're going with NASCAR these days. But I mean, I'm no road race guy by no means, but it's that they're starting to grow on me a little bit.
Well, and this past week, having Timmy out there and Jordan Taylor, Connor Daly. I mean, I guess you could even call him a ringer now. Jimmy Johnson out there. I mean, David, that was a pretty cool deal to have some of the biggest names in motorsports just for this past weekend's race.
Man, it was amazing, especially on the Cup side, former F1 champion and, Jordan Taylor driving Chase Elliott's car. It was really cool to hear their feedback, and it says a lot about our sport worldwide. You see these F1 guys, former champions of F1 racing, and see them, to say that we've always wanted to come try NASCAR. It just says a lot about our sport and how big it is, not only in America, but in the world, So it was interesting. And then to hear some of their feedbacks on, how good the NASCAR Cup drivers are. I mean, like Josh said earlier, they're the best in the world, the best, 40 Cup drivers in the world race on Sunday afternoon. And to hear these former F1 champions speak about, how competitive and how good these guys are, just says a lot about our whole entire sport,
Well, and Josh, we heard Jordan Taylor say after the race that he was shocked by the amount of contact that goes on, the bumping and banging. And I'm like, I hear that from Jordan Taylor. I'm like, I understand he's a sports car racer, but this stock car racing, this is the nature of the beast. Doesn't matter if we're racing in Austin or Martinsville. That's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we don't care if we're driving the credentials or we're on the racetrack. It doesn't matter. But, I picked him to win. I thought he was going to be the guy, running the Garage 56 car and all that stuff and doing a lot of the sim stuff for that. I thought he was going to be the man to beat. And I feel like if he had some more seat time and some more practice, with the actual, Cup car, I think he would have been a big threat. But it's cool to see those guys, and it's cool to race against different people like that. I mean, because they have a different skill set, than some of the other people. And, some of your guys might just be more used to that car, but you might be able to follow that guy and learn something different that you can apply. Because some of those road race guys, man, I don't know, they're like magicians. It's crazy how good they are. I learned a lot from Andy Lally. I crew chiefed him a couple times when he drove for Mario, and the notes that he would send me Monday morning after the race is just insane. I mean, all the way down to the third blue curb in turn 7, and I'm like, how do you even know that the third thing is blue? Like, I like what the curb is, and you're telling me which turtle it is. I mean, those guys are just so impressive.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Before we go and wrap up here, go around the room, see what everybody's got going on this week. Josh, you make your return to the track, and I would expect in driver intros, you're going to have quite the ovation on your hands here.
Yeah, I just hope I get my ankle monitor off before I, we'll see how that goes. But no, man, it's just working this week. We were up at the shop in Mooresville getting the car ready for Richmond. Monday we had a test with one of our new kids in a limited late model at Hickory. It was his first time. That was pretty impressive to watch. He's super talented, man. He shocked me, actually. I told his dad, I asked him, I said, you run the Legends car this weekend? He said, yeah. I said, well, that's a bummer. I said, we need to be here on Hickory Saturday night running this late model. Kid's pretty dang good. So that was pretty awesome, man. And just going back to shop tomorrow, get ready for Richmond and head that way. And hopefully NASCAR's happy with me when I get there.
Dominic, how about you?
I'm actually going out of state this weekend. Won't be at Richmond Raceway. Would love to be out there this weekend, but actually taking the wifey to Las Vegas. We're going to go see Sting in concert at the Caesars Palace. I know we're old souls.
Wow.
So we're going to go see the Police, or I guess 1/3 of the Police. And it should be a fun concert this weekend.
Sounds like a good show. You were just in Vegas, and now you're coming back. Vegas owns you.
Something like that. I think you're onto something.
Yeah, he's got some people to pay off in Vegas, if you know what I mean. David, what's going on with you?
Man, tomorrow I got a big sponsor meeting, and then Thursday I got an event at the Speedway, and then the IndyCar Series and the NASCAR Truck Series racing here. So I'll take my boys, and we'll be tuned in to what's going on there in Richmond and watching the IndyCars and the Truck Series here at the Texas Motor Speedway.
I bet we know where you're going to be watching the race from on Sunday.
Absolutely.
From Martek's condo. Yeah,
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I'm actually headed to David's hometown this weekend, going to Houston. Going to be covering the Final Four, doing national radio for TuneIn Radio. So that should be a lot of fun being down there as we'll crown a national champion in college basketball on Monday night. So that's where I'll be the next couple of days. Josh, where can people follow you and see all the stuff you got going on, man?
Yeah, Josh 6 Williams on basically everything. josh6williams.com for our website. We got our T-shirts posted up there, trying to do some good things with that. And, the Twitter page is where all the fun stuff's at. That's where I get to have most of my fun. So if you want to talk to me and have a good time, that's where the controversy starts. It's on the old Twitter sphere, as I call it.
Got to get one of those T-shirts. Yeah, have to. David needs one of these T-shirts. Josh, tell I don't think David's seen it yet. Josh, tell David real quick what this shirt is.
They call it the Park It shirt. And we're donating some of the proceeds to the Seacrest Foundation to try to help to build some new studios in the children's hospitals and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool shirt. Go look at it. You'll want one. If there's still any left, I might be able to snag you one on the side. I know a guy.
Hey, Josh, I think it's pretty awesome, the Seacrest Foundation and what the studios that they build in these hospitals, where the kids that are there fighting different, cancer and different other disease, to be able to have a studio, a Seacrest radio studio in the hospital, and have the kids be able to act like a disc jockey, maybe record a song, be a singer. Pretty cool, your involvement in what you have done for the kids and the different charities over the years. I don't know if a lot of people know about it, but it's pretty awesome to be just such a damn good race car driver and to give back and to change a lot of kids' lives like you have done in the past. I don't know how long you've been doing it, but it's pretty cool that you do that, man. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's been an ongoing thing for us, since like 2015, and it's a whole different world, man. It gives you a different perspective, of your own life, just being able to see some of the struggles and things like that. And if we can take a little bit of time out of our day to brighten theirs up, that's all that matters.
That's awesome. Well, guys, we got to put the checker flag out in this episode. Josh, pleasure to have you with us. You're welcome back anytime. I'd love to have you again in the future. As always, you can subscribe to the show. New episodes out each and every Wednesday. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review or don't leave us one at all. You can also follow us on social media, Twitter, and also on Facebook at Starr Podcast. You can email us, davidstarrpodcast@gmail.com. For David Starr, Dominic Oregon, and Josh Williams, I'm Tyler Jones saying so long. This has been another edition of Let's Go Racing. We'll see you next week.